have also backed Jenni Hermoso in speaking about this manipulative culture in which women are very poorly treated. They're patronized, they're ridiculed, they're humiliated. And it is unfortunately, according to them, this culture of this little boys club or big boys club or whatever it is that it's called. But in fact, they just treat these women like little girls and they don't take them seriously.
The player who was kissed on the lips by the Spanish Football Federation president says she did not consent. In a statement on social media, Jenni Hermoso said Luis Rubiales' claims that were categorically false and part of the manipulative culture that he's generated. Rubiales has refused to resign, and more than 80 players are now refusing to play for Spain until he's removed. Semra Hunter is a Spanish football journalist.
There was the belief that with FIFA putting out a statement saying that they were opening disciplinary proceedings against him, everyone thought, okay, that's it. He's done. He's dusted. He can't survive this anymore. And actually, there were members of his inner circle, reportedly, who had reached out directly to the media and told them that Rubiales had, in fact, decided to step down, when up until that point, he had no intention of doing so. So the news spread like wildfire here in Spain, and I think across the globe, quite frankly, that, yes, indeed, he was going to call time on his tenure there. But then, in another surprise twist, he actually very defiantly said, I'm not going to resign, was shouting it across the room to wild applause, and decided to say that he's going to fight it all the way until the very end instead. So now, in parallel, the government are trying to push him out via the courts. And there's already been a suspension process initiated, which has to continue on Monday. The official complaints that were filed against him will be taken to the administrative court. He'll have to appear there. He will have to give further explanations. Subsequently, they will have to decide what the punishment will be, if there is to be one, how long that suspension will last. He can, as far as I understand it, he can then appeal the suspension. If, in fact, the appeal doesn't go in his favor, then I believe he can be banned, whether it could be anywhere from 2 to 15 years, or if it could be for life. I've seen a little bit of discrepancies around this. But more or less, that's kind of the process from here on out in terms of how the government can actually remove him of his post, considering that he clearly is not going to stand down by his own volition.
It's quite astonishing, really. I mean, when you outline the process, it could take, quite some time, actually, to see all of that through, in the face of such overwhelming pressure on him to go, including now these players, more than 80 of them, who are refusing to play football.
And I think even more astonishing still is that the Federation have released a press statement in the last few hours, which just doubles down in protecting Rubiales, in supporting Rubiales. They've now said that they're going to take legal action against Jenni Hermoso and against FitPro, which was the union which released the initial statement that came out yesterday. There were two in relation to Jenni Hermoso. And on top of that, they were insisting that Rubiales didn't lie, that he was telling the truth. And they issued 4 separate photos where they tried to show as evidence of Jenni Hermoso lifting the president off of his feet and giving him a hug, which is what Luis Rubiales was saying in his speech yesterday, in terms of putting the blame on Jenni and trying to suggest that she was the one who instigated it. And that was the response that Jenni then gave in saying what Luis Rubiales was describing was categorically false. So they are now going to take this to court. And they've also reminded those 81 players that you've just mentioned of their obligation to represent Spain in the event that they are actually called to do so. So it's just getting uglier, and both sides are getting kind of deeper in their trenches, and it shows no sign of slowing down whatsoever. And quite frankly, the whole thing is just very, very, very utterly sad.
Well, it is sad. That's the thing, because there are so many broader and deeper points to this, in that what a hugely brilliant and successful time for Spain's women footballers to win the World Cup at the weekend. But here we are, where women's sport never seems to get the luxury, in inverted commas, of just being able to talk about the sport and enjoy the sport. But actually, there's always more that women have to do, and that is a really sad state of affairs.
It is, and so many of these Spanish footballers themselves have come out and said the exact same thing that you just said, which is, why is that we always have to be talking about something else? Why can't we just focus on playing football? Why can't we just be respected for our achievements and for being good at what we do and for being professionals just like the men? Why can't we get the same treatment as the men? And these are questions that are being raised time and time again. And now you see a lot of former footballers, some of them that are on that very list that you mentioned, they have come forward to speak to the media, and they have also backed Jenni Hermoso in speaking about this manipulative culture in which women are very poorly treated. They're patronized, they're ridiculed, they're humiliated. And it is, unfortunately, according to them, this culture of this little boys club or big boys club or whatever it is that it's called. But in fact, they just treat these women like little girls and they don't take them seriously. And there are so many of them who have been saying, we've been telling you this all along. We have been making formal complaints all along, but you've all been turning a blind eye. You haven't been supporting us. You didn't believe us. And now all of this is being kind of, the dirty laundry is being aired for everyone to see, not just in Spain, but across the globe. And so they actually said, quite a few of them, 15 of them last year, to the federation that they didn't want to go to represent Spain because of the emotional and mental strain that it was putting on them, the methodologies of the coach and the coaching staff, the way that they were being treated. So yes, there is a long-running history here of the federation completely. I'm trying to find the right word here, but really just not taking these women into consideration, not treating them with the dignity and the value and the respect that they certainly deserve. And now even documentaries are starting to come out straight away, where former footballers are coming out to speak against the federation and the abuse that they received. So it does speak to a much wider issue here. And it's very uncomfortable for many, but at the same time, it is very important, because the only way that we're going to grow as a society is if we actually sit, debate, talk about this, reflect on this, and see what we can do in order to improve the situation.